Let's play a game. What's wrong with this hand? Now, some of you might be thinking, it's missing the discard piece to our ABC of Reanimator cards. It has a good amount of lands, but if we don't draw any acceleration or mana, we'll never cast a board wipe or even hard cast a threat. But here's the bigger problem I see, and it's one of the most common problems I come across when I review decks on commandertemplate.com. You guys design in extremes. Let me explain. Dissecting this hand, we have grouping A, the Reanimator cards, and grouping B, the control cards. Seeing this board wipe here signals to me that it's not just a utility card to answer the opponent, but it's a signal that the deck also wants to be a control deck because maybe the commander is something like Sauron. There's two game plans here, and they pull at two extremes of the game. Reanimator gains advantage earlier in the game when the threat cheats on timing. You get a big boy on turn 2. And control gains advantage as the game goes longer, when your board wipes and removal gets better as your opponent's threats get juicier. Steak so juicy. The problem is game plan A and game plan B are not directly connected. They're implicitly connected in the sense you can always control the board and follow up with a reanimation spell to land the threat after. And having disparate game plans isn't necessarily a bad thing, because having more themes makes decks more interesting. I'm never going to tell you to make your deck more boring. Actually, the next video I might. But if this deck's problem was that the two extremes were on the early and late stage of the game, isn't the solution just filling the gap in the middle? In one of my favorite videos, this is where I talk about adding mid-range threats to give your decks other ways to play the game, or pivot threats. But lately, Reddit has been hating on this mid-range slop gospel, which is just hating on good deck building. But hey, I can't beat Reddit, and in this instance, they kind of have a point. But before I offer a rebuttal, if you like everything here so far, you definitely want to check out my deck building website, commandertemplate.com. That includes all of the learnings in our Commander Template series, along with some really useful features like being able to see all the Scryfall tags around one card to find other cards tagged the same way to explore new cards you might have never seen before. I actually use it a lot. It's made a lot of my decks even more fun. Let's jump back to our original problem. Extreme deck design. The very easy answer here that I've been sharing in a ton of my reviews is just play more looters. Looters are great, especially in Reanimator decks that want to pitch things to the graveyard for you to reanimate. But they're not just repeatable faithless lootings because they give you something extremely important, which is one of the greater lessons than just play more looters. The value of card flow. Card flow is what it sounds like. It's not card advantage, it's flowing through cards in your hand. So you can find the right tool for the right time. If you want to know more about the different types of draw effects, you can also check out my card draw video. Card flow can find any card you need for the immediate context. It can be a land to play your spells, or discarding that land to hold up interaction, or discarding interaction for a threat on board. Your potential is endless. If we have two extremes of game plans, and when the cards appear directly comes at odds with their effectiveness, right? Late game cards come too early game cards come too late. Card flow is the almighty solution to help us blend these extremes together. The problem with designing in these extremes, your plan A and plan B, is when your hand ends up with a little bit of both. You end up looking at ingredients at two different sandwiches that just don't go together. And throwing a 4-mana beer that scales well into multiplayer is just like sticking a band-aid on your fusion sandwich. Gross. And that's the problem with adding powerful pivot threats to avoid the deck construction issue like an unspoken family dinner on Thanksgiving. When you jam a Shieldred the Apocalypse, or Khan, into your Dimir Spellslinger Reanimator deck, is Shieldred really gonna take over the game? Probably. Is Shieldred a problem? Yeah. Is Shieldred sweeping under the rug that your hand sucks and we really need to talk about Grandpa's opinions? Yeah, we do. Jamming an expensive mythic rare at every point on the curve is avoiding the problem, and playing right into the apt feeling of mid-range or mythic power slop that kinda kills the identity of commander decks. And this is where adding looters comes in handy because they offer you the limitless potential to dump the A card to fit your B plan. Despite how hard I'm going for Merfolk Looter right now in all of your blue decks, today's video isn't just looter glazing. There's an even bigger lesson to be learned. You need to be playing more glue cards. The problem is our deck can have too many gaping holes of synergy. Maybe the Prof's eidetic memory that rebuys its own value is the thing that ties your Spellslinger Fairy deck together by turning all of your Archmage Emeritus draws into stronger Fairy tokens in the air. Maybe the commander deck you built by combining the elves versus goblins duel deck together really gets smoothed out when you just jam a ton of anthem effects where it doesn't matter which side of the duel deck you drew. A glue card is good no matter which half of your deck sandwich you have in your hand. A Wall of Omens is good because it's a body that blocks and it draws a card, and it's great to be blinked again for more value. A Satyr Wayfinder is great because it fuels our graveyard and lets us dig for lands to hit our land drops to play longer. A Heraldic Banner is a simple 3-drop that ramps us up, but also lets our many different creatures across a variety of themes play at a better rate by pumping them for 1 more power. As a general rule, outside of this lesson, if there's anything you remember aside from playing with glue, is we always want to be designing for stronger and more consistent mulligans. Got that? There's only one thing to remember that. And glue is a preventative measure in deck building, a form of preparation if you will, to dissuade clunky non-functional hands. These cards, as boring as they look and sound, are not as flavorful as you would imagine if you've eaten glue before, but they synergize enough and pull things together in such a cohesive way you're fine with the taste of paste. Glue cards never win you the game, but they make you a lot stickier to keep playing in one. The value of glue cards is specifically raising the floor of your hand when you mulligan, so you have more options to play and take the game forward, rather than being controlled by which half of the deck you've drawn. And while Looters is one of the best forms of glue that you could be playing, you don't have to guess what your deck's glue is, because your deck will tell you. If you haven't seen my goldfishing video, you really should, but as a quick summary, just mulligan 10 hands to find the clunky, barely keepable hands. Then ask yourself one question. What single card would have pulled all of this together during the early turns? That's the type of card you need to fill your deck's gaping holes. I'm gonna keep saying it. Glue cards are not something you might start your deck building process with, but they're a great tool to include during the polish phase of your deck building. And as a polishing tool, they are quite advanced in nature and quite nuanced because it's extremely hard to know off the rip what dumb 2-drop common like a Cryogen Relic would have turned your jank pile into an actual god pile. Like most packages, I would just start with 8 cards. I would start with replacing 8 high-end cards, or more expensive cards, maybe in the 4 mana and 5 mana range, because that's always going to be the first range that gets stuffed with cards, with 8 earlier glue cards, and goldfish to see if that has meaningfully changed your mulligans and the flow of your deck, and tune from there. The harder your deck pulls in 2 directions, the more glue it takes to hold together. The more focused the deck is in its game plan, the less smoothing you need with glue cards, but it doesn't mean you still don't need it though, because every deck needs to play across multiple phases of the game. But for our extreme piles, like our Reanimator control deck, which isn't even that extreme, we'll need a lot of Elmers. Thanks for watching. I wanted to do a nice thing for like Designer because I know Designer really likes their expensive control deck. So I watched this video and applied kind of the learnings and thinkings around it. Basically, I'm not allowed to leave the basement until I peel every single card off of each other. So I learned that it doesn't literally mean squeeze glue all over someone's deck. But if you want to learn more about like deck building, you know, there's like hella good videos here and here. I don't know. I don't remember what they are anymore, but like check them out. I think they're pretty good. It's good to see y'all. It's like a heat wave. It's like mega hot. Don't eat glue.